Imagine you are standing in a really long line at a retail store.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Right. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like a big national pharmacy or a massive grocery chain. You've got your items. You're just waiting your turn. And then suddenly the cash registers just go totally blank.
The worst.
The digital menu boards above the deli counter, they turn black. The kitchen displays in the bakery freeze. And you're just wondering, what just happened? Because you look around and, the lights are still on.
Right.
The physical store didn't actually lose power, but its localized digital brain just went completely offline.
And in that exact moment, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that physical store basically ceases to exist as a functional business.
Wow, yeah.
Like the doors might be open, but the digital infrastructure that actually allows commerce to happen, scanning the barcodes, processing payments, syncing inventory, it's completely collapsed. It is basically just a very well-lit warehouse until those systems come back online.
That's such a crazy way to think about it. But welcome to our deep dive, everyone. Today, our mission is to really explore this invisible, incredibly high-stakes world of physical retail infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
Really is.
Yeah.
And specifically, we're looking at how artificial intelligence is stepping in to completely rewire it. We are pulling all of this from some really fascinating source material today.
Yeah.
We've got product and engineering documentation from Plural.
Which is a tech company building AI for infrastructure.
Exactly. And we're pairing that with a highly detailed analysis from a LinkedIn article by Shish S that really zeroes in on Plural's impact on the retail and consumer packaged goods, or CPG sectors.
It is just a revealing look under the hood of an industry we literally all interact with every single day.
Right.
Because we tend to think of retail as just, shelves and physical products. But modern retail is actually this massive, highly distributed software operation that just happens to have a physical footprint.
Yeah.
The sheer scale of the computing power required to run a modern chain it's honestly staggering.
Okay, let's unpack this, because there is a massive core tension here between physical stores and cloud computing.
Oh, absolutely.
To understand how AI is coming in to fix the modern retail experience, we first have to understand the hidden tech stack that lives inside practically every physical store you walk into. It's not just like a cash register plugged into a wall anymore.
Not at all. Let's use the scenario outlined in the Shish S article to kind of ground this. Picture a massive national retail chain. They have like thousands of physical locations.
Okay.
You've got the shiny multi-story flagship store right downtown in a major city, right? And then you have a tiny outpost and a remote strip mall 3 time zones away.
Where the internet is probably terrible.
Exactly, where the connection is provided by a local telecom and is, at best, spotty.
And what the sources reveal is that every single one of these locations, no matter how big or small, is running its own local Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah, which sounds intense.
Right. And for those who aren't in software engineering, Kubernetes is basically this heavy-duty orchestration system. Think of it as a highly efficient traffic cop that manages different software applications to make sure they are, running smoothly.
Exactly.
In a physical store, this localized cluster is managing the point-of-sale systems. It's managing the inventory syncs back to the warehouse. It's running the self-checkout kiosk. Like, everything is happening locally on servers inside that specific building.
Which is a brilliant architectural necessity, honestly. Every store essentially acts as its own localized data center.
Well, every single store.
Every single one. Because these stores aren't just dumb terminals blindly pinging the cloud for every single action. They have to process complex operations on site strictly because of latency.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if a customer is standing at a self-checkout, you cannot afford latency. You can't wait for a digital signal to bounce all the way to a cloud server in Virginia, get processed, and bounce back just to register like a scanned barcode for a pack of gum.
Right. It'd take forever.
The transaction has to be immediate.
It makes me think of a central nervous system. Like if the corporate headquarters is the brain, it might be perfectly healthy. It's doing the deep thinking and the long-term data storage.
Yeah, great analogy.
But if the nerve ending in a specific store, that local Kubernetes cluster, gets pinched or goes offline, that specific store goes completely numb. The arm just stops working.
Exactly.
The cash register won't ring up a sale. The supply chain signal never reaches the warehouse. The local reflex is just gone, and business stops immediately.
What's fascinating here is how retail and CPG companies are uniquely burdened by this architecture.
How so?
Well, if you contrast a brick and mortar retailer with a purely digital software company, say a fintech app, those digital companies operate almost entirely in the cloud.
Right.
They are dealing with clean, climate controlled, highly reliable data centers maintained by Amazon or Google. But retail infrastructure has this massive, really messy physical footprint.
Oh, right.
These local clusters are running on literal hardware sitting in a back room somewhere.
Yeah, they are literally sharing space with the store's cleaning supplies.
Literally.
You've got enterprise-grade computing hardware sitting next to a mop bucket. A spilled bucket of soapy water is technically a physical security threat to a localized Kubernetes cluster.
It really is.
And it's hardware that no platform engineer from corporate has laid eyes on in person for, like, years.
Which leads perfectly into the absolute nightmare of maintaining these systems. This environment is what the industry calls the edge.
The edge. Okay.
Yeah, the edge is anywhere computing happens outside of a centralized data center, and the edge is just chaotic.
Because of the environment.
Exactly. You have stores with intermittent internet connections. You have mismatched hardware because, store A was built 5 years ago and store B was built last month. So their physical servers are completely different generations.
Oh, man. If you're listening to this and you ever worked in IT, your blood pressure is probably spiking right now, just thinking about managing thousands of mismatched servers spread across an entire continent. The traditional way we manage software is through something called push-based deployment, right?
Yes.
In a clean, cloud-only world, if an engineer wants to update a piece of software, they push that update out from a central location, and all the servers instantly receive it and update.
Assuming perfect connectivity.
Right. It assumes everything is online and ready.
But when you try to push a centralized update to thousands of chaotic, mismatched edge locations simultaneously, that assumption of perfect connectivity completely breaks down.
The deployment just fails.
The deployment fails. An internet connection drops halfway through the download, and suddenly a cash register operating system is completely corrupted. Or, the hardware in a 5-year-old store can't handle the memory requirements of the new update, and it just crashes.
And the numbers the sources provide on how bad this gets are genuinely alarming. There is this specific case study mentioned of a national retailer where a single Kubernetes upgrade took 6 full months to roll out across their fleet.
6 months.
6 months, just to update the infrastructure.
And we really have to unpack the severity of the security implications tied to that timeline.
Yeah.
The sources point out that because these system patches were moving at the speed of a physical rollout, dealing with store outages, rolling back broken updates, trying again, rather than the speed of a digital threat, known security vulnerabilities were sitting exposed for 2 full quarters.
That is terrifying.
And this cycle was happening 3 times a year.
That is wild.
Yeah.
But to understand the mechanism of why that's so dangerous, it's not just about a broken lock. It's like knowing the blueprint of your store's security system has been leaked online, and the manufacturer sends you a new security panel.
Right.
But because your stores are so disconnected, you have to physically mail the panel to every store manager and walk them through installing it over the phone, one by one.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there, fully exposed for months, hoping nobody exploits the flaw before you get to their specific store.
And compound that physical lag with a total lack of real-time visibility.
Oh, because they can't even see what's happening.
Exactly. Traditional monitoring tools simply weren't built for this kind of geographical sprawl. Nobody at corporate headquarters had a real-time picture of the fleet.
Wow.
There was no overarching dashboard to instantly see which stores were healthy or which ones were drifting out of compliance.
So they're essentially flying blind. Like, they wouldn't know a store's cluster was failing until a customer standing at a register actually noticed the system was down.
Yeah, they'd complain to a cashier.
Right, who calls a store manager, who then calls the corporate IT desk. The failure was visible to the consumer before it was ever visible to the engineer responsible for fixing it.
And this structural blindness forces a very painful business reality. As a retail chain grows, the traditional corporate response to IT problems is to just throw more headcount at it.
Just hire more people.
Right, but you cannot scale platform engineering headcount linearly to manage this kind of geographical and technical chaos.
Yeah.
You can't hire an engineer for every single store.
No, of course not.
The sheer grinding toil of manually babysitting disconnected servers, investigating vague outage tickets, and resetting systems, it just burns platform teams out.
Because human beings simply cannot manually force updates to thousands of offline mismatched physical stores. The math just doesn't work.
Really doesn't.
So how do we fundamentally change the mechanism? The sources point to the solution from Plural, and it starts by abandoning that centralized push model entirely and moving toward what they call a pull-based GitOps engine.
And this is the architectural pivot that changes everything. To understand why it works, we have to define GitOps.
Okay, lay it on us.
So Git is a widely used version control system. It's essentially a master ledger that tracks every single change made to a codebase.
Got it.
GitOps means taking that ledger and making it the absolute, undisputed single source of truth for what your infrastructure, should look like.
Wait, so if I'm understanding this pull-based model, the corporate office isn't throwing the update at a store hoping it catches it over a spotty internet connection. The corporate office just updates the master blueprint in Git, and then the store itself is basically waking up, checking that blueprint, and pulling down what it needs.
Yes.
That completely bypasses the broken connection issue.
Exactly. In a pull-based model, each individual store cluster has an agent running locally that constantly checks in with the central Git repository, asking, what is my desired state? What software am I supposed to be running today?
Oh, that's smart.
And if it notices a difference between its current live state and the desired state in the master blueprint, the store initiates the download itself and updates itself.
That is such an elegant shift in logic, because if a store's internet drops during, like, a massive thunderstorm, the corporate rollout doesn't fail. The central system doesn't even care.
Exactly.
The disconnected store just waits. In the exact moment the telecom connection is reestablished, the local cluster wakes up, checks the master blueprint, says, oh, I'm 3 versions behind on the point-of-sale software, and automatically pulls the update to catch up to the rest of the fleet.
It's natively designed to tolerate the chaos of intermittent connectivity, but, Plural doesn't stop at just fixing the deployment mechanism.
Right.
The sources detail how Plural takes this a massive step further by introducing what they call workbenches and always-on DevOps agents.
Okay, what are those?
These are AI agents deployed directly into the environment that bundle together observability tools, engineering runbooks, and automated remediation patterns. They constantly monitor the live infrastructure.
Okay, hold on. This is where I have to push back hard.
Sure.
Handing the keys to thousands of live cash registers, supply chain databases, and kitchen displays over to an autonomous AI sounds like an absolute recipe for disaster.
That sounds scary, yeah.
Right, like we've all seen large language models make weird, unpredictable mistakes or confidently invent information. Are we just waiting for an AI hallucination to accidentally shut down a national grocery chain on a Saturday afternoon because it misread a log file?
It's the most critical question to ask, really. And the engineers at Plural are clearly very aware that you cannot just let an unchecked, generalized language model loose in a production environment.
Okay, good.
The entire architecture is designed around incredibly strict enterprise guardrails to prevent exactly what you just described.
So how does the leash actually work? If the AI is monitoring the infrastructure, how does it understand what it's looking at without hallucinating?
The primary mechanism is that Plural doesn't operate as a black box. It maintains what they call a live semantic graph of the entire computing estate.
A semantic graph.
Yeah, and a semantic graph isn't just a flat list of servers. It is a highly detailed, real-time map of causality and relationships. It maps that, say, service A relies on database B, which is physically hosted on server C.
So it's not just reading text logs. It actually understands the physical and digital dependencies.
Exactly.
Like if service C gets unplugged by someone reaching for a mop, the AI inherently knows that service A is going to fail rather than just randomly guessing.
Precisely. The agents are reading the actual live infrastructure of the clusters. They aren't relying on some static, outdated manual that a human engineer wrote 6 months ago.
Right.
But even with that deep understanding, they do not have unilateral power. And this directly addresses your fear of a rogue AI shutting down a store.
Okay.
Every single AI action is constrained by the exact same role-based access control, or RBAC, as a human engineer.
Oh, meaning the AI is fundamentally restricted by the enterprise's existing security policies.
Yes.
It's basically wearing the same uniform and security badge as a junior engineer. If a human junior engineer doesn't have the administrative permissions to reboot the core database, the AI agent doesn't have the permission to do it either.
Yes, exactly.
It can't walk into a digital room it doesn't have a key card for.
Exactly. But the most crucial safeguard is how the AI actually implements a fix.
Okay.
Let's say an alert fires a A severe memory leak in a store's point-of-sale system?
Like,
Right. The AI subagents will investigate the observability data. They'll consult the semantic graph to understand the dependencies. They will identify the root cause, and they will formulate the minimum viable code change to fix it.
wow.
But, and this is key, they do not deploy that code. Instead, they open a pull request.
Okay, so the AI is basically acting as a sous chef.
I like that.
Right. It
Yeah.
preps all the ingredients, chops the vegetables, mixes the sauce, and plates the entire dish perfectly. But it absolutely does not send that plate out to the dining room until the head chef, the human engineer, tastes it, approves it, and rings the bell.
That is a perfect analogy. The pull request, or PR, is the AI presenting the drafted solution to the human. It says, I found the root cause. Here is the exact code change required. Here's the evidence from the semantic graph. Please review and approve.
That's incredible.
The human operator is always in the loop, maintaining total authority. What used to be a multi-hour escalation where exhausted engineers are waking up at 2 a.m. to manually dig through thousands of lines of server logs
Ugh, the worst.
suddenly becomes a 15-minute review of a pre-packaged, AI-drafted solution over a morning coffee.
And the flexibility here is wild. The documentation notes that enterprises can actually bring your own LLM.
Yes, that's huge.
So a massive retailer isn't locked into one specific AI provider that Plural dictates. They can plug in OpenAI, Anthropic, AWS Bedrock, or Microsoft Azure-like, whatever specific model meets their internal corporate compliance and data privacy standards.
Which is an absolute necessity for heavily regulated industries. You can't force a publicly traded bank or a global retailer to use an AI model that hasn't been cleared by their legal team.
Right.
And speaking of reducing enterprise risk, the sources detail how Plural handles the actual migration process, which is notoriously the riskiest part of adopting new infrastructure.
Oh, for sure. Ripping out old tech.
Right. The Shish S article highlights how one major retailer migrated to this system via a no-op transition.
Okay, unpack no-op transition for us. I assume that means no operations were disrupted. But how do you rip out a massive infrastructure management tool without breaking anything?
It really comes down to how Plural integrates with existing tools. The sources specify that Plural took over the retailer's existing Flux-managed Helm releases.
Okay, lots of jargon there.
Right. To break that down, Helm is basically a package manager for Kubernetes. It helps you install complex software. And Flux is a highly popular GitOps tool that many companies already use to sync their configurations.
So the retailer already had a basic GitOps setup with Flux and Helm, but it wasn't intelligent.
Exactly.
They didn't have the AI agents or the semantic graph.
Exactly. So instead of forcing the retailer to delete everything and start from scratch, Plural simply absorbed the existing setup. They applied the identical YAML state, and YAML is just the human-readable language used for configuration files.
Okay, so they just mirrored it.
Right. By perfectly mirroring the existing state, Plural took control of the infrastructure without disrupting any persistent data volumes. 0 physical stores went offline during the cutover. It was a completely invisible, seamless upgrade from the store's perspective. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this entire architecture is about solving the trust deficit between enterprise IT and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about figuring out how to trust AI with high-compliance, mission-critical systems. It's not just about moving fast. It's about the fact that every single tool call, every decision, and every artifact produced by these agents is fully contained within a pull request and strictly auditable.
Because you aren't trusting a magical black box.
Exactly. The AI has to mathematically show its work step by step for human validation.
Because this AI system forces everything to be auditable and contained via pull requests, enterprises finally have the safety net they really need to scale.
Exactly.
And that ability to scale safely completely changes the financial math for these retailers. Which brings us to the actual bottom line.
Always comes back to the money.
Right. We've established that this technology works, and we've established the mechanisms that make it safe.
Yeah.
But how does this translate to the financial reality of running a massive retail operation?
Well, the real-world ROI numbers in these sources are definitive. In the Shishis article, that national retailer we've been tracking measured their metrics over a 2-year period.
Okay.
By switching to this automated, pull-based agentic model, they saw a $6.5 million net benefit.
Wow.
That resulted in a 2.8x return on their initial investment.
And those savings aren't just like abstract efficiencies. They come from two very tangible places. reclaimed engineering capacity, and avoided store downtime.
Exactly.
When a store's network doesn't drop during an update, you don't lose sales.
Yeah.
Plural's broader platform metrics claim an 88% reduction in operational costs across the board,
Which is massive.
and an unbelievable 95% reduction in day two operations.
Yeah.
And for context, day two operations are the ongoing maintenance, patching, and bug fixing that usually eats up almost all of an IT team's waking hours.
Right. They cite an overarching return on investment of roughly 30x over 3 years.
That's crazy.
But beyond the hard dollar amounts, the human scalability is perhaps the most vital takeaway.
Yeah.
The sources explicitly state that this national retailer's platform team was able to support twice the store footprint, like double the physical locations, without adding a single new headcount to the engineering team.
Which is the absolute holy grail of platform engineering. You finally decouple the growth of the business from the growth of your IT payroll.
Exactly.
Because the AI agents are automatically turning those vague monitoring tickets into ready-to-review pull requests, the IT backlog stops being a graveyard of unresolved issues.
Yeah, it really does.
Engineers get to actually do engineering. They get to design better systems instead of just playing an endless game of whack-a-mole, resetting routers in remote strip malls.
And there's another fascinating layer of financial optimization built directly into the AI. Plural employs specific sub-agents called FinOps agents. Yeah, these agents are dedicated entirely to financial operations. They continuously inventory the cloud spend by cluster, and they actually run SQL queries against the cloud provider's billing tables to find waste.
Wait, I need to know how that works securely. How is an LLM rummaging around in a company's actual Amazon, AWS, or Microsoft Azure billing account?
It uses the same strict access controls we discussed earlier. The FinOps agent is granted a read-only service account.
Oh, read-only, okay.
Right. It looks at the billing line items and it cross-references those costs with this semantic graph of what the Kubernetes clusters are actually utilizing in real time.
So the AI is literally reading the receipt from Microsoft, looking at the live performance data of the cluster and saying, hey, human, you are paying for a massive expensive server here, but based on the last 30 days of traffic, you only get a small one.
Exactly.
And then it opens a PR with the exact configuration code changes to right-size the infrastructure. It's automation that is actively hunting down ways to pay for itself.
It is highly effective and, it requires deep institutional trust. But the sources show Plural has clearly earned that trust.
Yeah.
They are a Microsoft for Startups Pegasus partner, which means their architecture has been heavily vetted by Microsoft for enterprise readiness. They are backed by major players like Capital One Ventures and trusted by global engineering firms like Mott MacDonald.
So what does this all mean? It means that for massive retailers and consumer brands, their physical infrastructure, which for decades has been this fragile, chaotic bottleneck dragging down the speed of the business, has finally shifted into an automated engine for growth.
Absolutely.
The messy, unpredictable reality of the edge is being tamed by AI that actually understands the physical and digital environment it lives in.
It is a profound paradigm shift. We are moving from a world where exhausted humans are desperately trying to manually enforce digital order in a chaotic physical world to a world where AI agents are maintaining that order silently, asynchronously, and constantly freeing humans to just oversee the results.
I love that. It really frames the scale of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So to wrap this deep dive up, the next time you are standing at a self-checkout kiosk, scanning your groceries, or you're looking up at a digital menu board waiting for your coffee, take a second to think about the massive invisible choreography happening behind that screen.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. Think about the army of DevOps agents constantly checking blueprints, identifying memory leaks, and proposing code fixes in real time just to keep that single screen glowing and your transaction moving.
It's a level of infrastructure resilience that was simply impossible 5 years ago.
It really was. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on everything we've explored today in these sources. Right now, as we discussed, these AI agents are acting as incredible assistants, the ultimate sous chefs.
Right.
They're finding bugs, mapping complex dependencies, and proposing safe fixes for human review. But as this AI becomes even more deeply embedded in the semantic graph of our physical world, fully understanding every nuance of how these systems connect, what happens when these agents move beyond merely maintaining the infrastructure?
Oh, wow.
What happens when they start autonomously redesigning the very architecture of our digital and physical spaces from the ground up, entirely bypassing human DevOps?